Now, I'm going to hop right into this and recognize that our system mastery is a work in progress. Um, so if we end up saying, wait, I thought we did it like this, then that's fine. I can definitely think I can definitely forgive myself for some of that, and I hope you'll do the same. Imagine, if you will, two men on horseback, one of whom is an adult, a weathered looking person who's been around the block a few times, and another one who is a young man. They are wearing the traditional kind of circular poncho with a hood, so that hangs and drapes over their arms. They lift their arms, it like drapes down, right? Is the imagery. They're riding horses that are not big, noble war horses with arching necks or anything like that. They are we would call them in America, you call them quarter horses. They really aren't very big, um, but they're kind of muscular little bastard horses, if that makes any sense. Um, and so the they're riding over scrublands, not on trails. So there isn't a track where they are. There isn't a road. There aren't piled stones there. They're it's open enough so that the horses can ride without having to weave, but it's scrubby and it's rocky, and it's not even ground. These are hills cresting, you're coming over a crest and then riding down an arroyo, and that kind of thing. um, Gordon, you are the younger character. The man that you are riding with, his name is Dess, Dess, and is uh, seems to be in kind of a hurry. um, the the first thing I want to concern myself with is the broken grounds gets a little worse. There's an area where you're going to actually have to go through some woods to get where you're going. It's lower, so you're in the when I mean lower, that means when you look to your left, to your right, you see rising land rather than out toward the horizon. And it's thickly wooded, so the horses have to slow down, and you have to thread your way to get through. There's no trail. You have to guess what's going to be the best way up, or through, and yet again, Des is urging speed, so things get a little dangerous for man and beast. So Gordon, we are talking about a riding roll.
Okay.
And so we are talking about percentages. You have a base. You have a you. I don't know if you listed the percent for your riding, your final
I
percent.
believe I have that here.
Oh
Uh,
goodness.
unsurprisingly, not anything to be proud of. I have a 20% in ride.
There are
I
worse.
That's not bad.
I just I
Mhm.
just found a yeah. I got that agility bonus is nice and substantial for me, so that's helpful. I just found an online dice roller, and it looks like I rolled a 30.
So yes, I mean clearly you are not the expert rider of the pair, and fall behind. And so in order to maybe you slip and are able to. It's not that far to the ground on a horse this side, so it's not like you're falling from a castle wall or anything. But maybe you slip and have to grab at the saddle, grab at the reins, hop on one foot, to keep yourself together. And so for a little bit there, you lose track of Des. Um, and this is a problem. He's in a hurry, and it's you don't want to be. I assume you don't want to be a load, right?
Yeah.
So there you are, hopping on one foot and trying to calm your horse and all the rest of it. The area that you're in, that you guys are cutting through, when I say interior, it may not be as far away from roads and stuff as you may think. The point is just that there aren't any roads that go through it. So therefore it's dark, dense, and, you know, things are in there. Which may not be like the most comfortable thought at the moment for you.
Not feeling safe right now.
Yeah. So the question is, first and foremost, what do you do? What do you want to do as sort of your action of the moment?
Well, so if I've kind of lost track of him, I think I want to try and catch up as best as I can, or maybe find a bit of high ground where I can at least see if he's changed direction, which way he's gone.
Okay.
So if I'm not even sure which way he's at, try and get somewhere, get up to the top of one of those hills somewhat quickly. Although I'm not that confident with the horse, so got to take a little bit of care. But I kind of don't want to lose sight of him if I can avoid it.
So we have a couple of things. There's the region knowledge, the lore region that you've got, and there's also scan. I could also consider if track is better than scan, then that wouldn't be the worst idea either.
So for me, my guess is that I'm very interested in scanning.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually got a 35 on that.
Ooh, rock. Let's see you roll an 82 now.
It's entirely possible. Let's roll the dice again. And I'll the 70.
All right then. Okay. So yeah, this is getting a little dicey. You try to find some high ground. You succeed. You find some high ground. Uh-oh. So all right. We're in the midst of this and don't want everybody else to get bored. So I'll cut to the chase by Des screaming over there.
Oops.
Well, a moment of hesitation, but I guess I will head over there to see if I can't at least know what I need to run away from.
Right. The sight that greets you actually comes from a few minutes ago. It was initiated by actions a little while ago. So let's be weird and cut back in time a little bit to a dank, wet spot in an area, in a gully not very far from this spot. A dank, wet creek running down out of the top of the hills, probably from a spring or a pool up there. But instead of being wonderfully cold and fresh and whatever, instead it is dank and stinking and close with lots of standing pools along the way. I was talking about a dank and stinking stream oozing and trickling its way down from one of these hilltops down through a close little crevice with some standing pools along the way. And that's there are several people. And one of them is the older people who've brought you from the village for the first time. And so there are people there, and unlike the people we've seen already, they're wearing wooden masks. So there's two adults who've taken you there, and you're all wearing wooden masks. I wanted to tell, did you hear about the dank and stinking stream?
I did hear about a dank and stinking stream.
And about the standing pools that it forms along the way down the little steep cliffside or countryside that it goes through. And one of these is you.
Okay.
They're with a couple of other people who have brought you. You guys are supposed to be doing something else, but
right.
But they've brought you here secretly, and all of you are wearing wooden masks. They've given you a wooden mask to wear.
All right, so it's a ritual of some sort for the.
That's right. And out of one of those standing pools emerges a human figure, as if you had not seen them go in. So,
Right.
you walked up there and stood around and wondered when the ritual began, and then out of the water stands up this person, right? And the person is really almost, I mean, non-gender specific because they're so shriveled and distorted looking.
Right.
They have wild tangles of gray hair, just wild tangles of it, and they are now. You guys are wearing, cloaks, basically, or wearing the standard garment or clothes that are quite similar to it. But this person is wearing almost really nothing except just kind of fetishistic or strange, things tied onto themselves. And so the one of the adults, who brought you, kind of claps you on your shoulder, and says, he's here. This is Jonathan, as we told you. And the person, the priest or priestess, this runic person, because this is the first time you've seen the runes except as little scritchy scratchies. You've seen them as little scritchy scratchies, but you've never seen them as items of power before.
Right. Yeah.
And here is when when the person shakes back their head and looks at you, you can see that the rune the rune for darkness, which is this basically just this circle, has just been literally carved into their forehead, and so it looks like a depression, in their skin.
Right. Yep.
And jet black. And it's not just a visual thing. This, you can look at it and you can see this image is actually projecting power into this whole environment. The whole place takes on, you can see, but the place is pitch black.
Right. Yep.
And so now it is. And so the priest, I'll say, using the term generically for gender,
Right. Yeah.
is begins a chant that you're expected to join. The others join, and you kind of look back and forth, I guess, to learn what to, how to do it. And so,
Right. Yeah.
and you're a singer, so you pick that up pretty quickly. Go ahead and roll. You should have a relevant. Do you have a relevant skill for anything like that?
I have sing.
Yeah, let's go ahead and see how you do.
So my sing is, what is my sing? 20%.
Okay.
And I get a 47.
Yeah.
So
you croak
I'm
along.
stumbling, I don't know the words presumably, and mumbling on the ends of stuff, like
Right.
someone trying to sing a pop song they don't really know very well.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but that's okay. That's kind of what they expect from the skin of the priest. Bulges and struggles and splits in places, and what crawl out are sticky red birds, until they've got like a bunch of them, and then they fling the birds up and they're flapping in the air, and then the priest points, let him see, take him, let him see, and the two people look at you and point you where the birds are flying and shove you.
Okay.
So
all right. So I presume that I'm supposed to follow the birds and see where they lead me.
mm-hmm.
So I will head after the birds.
Right. So as
I imagine I'm a little bit frightened at this point as well. I mean, this is probably this is the first time I've seen anything real power here. So I think probably as bravado. I'm a teenager, but I think I'm a bit frightened.
Yeah. And so so yeah, you can kind of see, as you're making your way, you can't fly. You're making your way through the brambles and things, and it's definitely not. Oh, fortunately, to some extent, when you leave that immediate vicinity, it's daylight again. So the light
Right.
looks normal again, at least, thank God. And so, and what you're going to come upon presently is that the birds have set upon a man.
Okay.
And so now we have both of you looking at the same situation from different vantage points. So those two characters are present. So far so good?
Yep.
What you see is that Vess, keeping his horse, that is to say, keeping his seat on the horse, it has removed his cloak and is whipping it back and forth to try to keep the birds off of him. And so they seem to be attacking him. The question is, what do you do? For both of you.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, ride down. I mean, at this point, I'm probably not as scared because they just look like red birds to me. So yeah, I'm gonna help him chase those birds away. I mean, I don't have that darkness terror experience. So at the moment, I'm optimistic about being able to go down there and put on a good showing and impress Des with my assistance.
Just normal birds to be scared off.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, I will. I'm not gonna argue with you in your impression. Your character has clearly forgotten, which is fine. Your character has clearly forgotten that Des, no shrinking violet, has already screamed in terror once. Just to point that out, from an external viewpoint. But that's okay.
Do I know Des? Is he somebody I'm familiar with who he is, or are these people strangers to me?
You don't have you don't know him professionally speaking. You do recognize that he is an outrider from your community.
Right. Okay.
And he's one of those guys, not that you recognize him by face, but certainly everything about him speaks of the extended community to which you belong.
Okay.
So, and different communities are regional enough in this culture that you kind of know where someone's from. So there's that. Okay, Gordon, what is Binri going to do physically? What exactly will you do? And look around. You may have a spell that may help. Who knows what?
Yeah. At the moment, I think. I'm relatively close.
Okay.
What is my distance from here at the moment?
Okay, yeah, from your perspective, I think that you were probably a little bit closer. You've got yourself a little bit of broken ground to cover, which makes it seem longer, but you are not farther than 10 meters. Which is not too bad to cross.
So I'll be closing that distance, yelling and screaming, waving things in the air, kind of like what Des is doing, and probably becoming increasingly concerned when the birds don't seem to run away from that.
Funny you should mention that. Yes.
Kind of my expectation is I'm coming in here and I'm going to scare them away, and they're not scaring, but that's
we'll see.
Where I start anyway. Okay.
So, Ian, do you have an action, or are you going to observe? I have no expectation. Just want to point out, there's no expectation here. Do as you see fit.
I think Jonathan is confused at this point because these are obviously sacred birds summoned by the priest, I know that the witch god, you know, one of the reasons I was attracted to them as a hunter was had powers of death. And I worry that I think he's worried that attempting to interfere he'd be forced to drive the birds off, interfere in their action, and that might be, you know, taboo. Really, these are the sacred sent by the witch. So, and the priest told me to watch, and didn't say, you know, protect or anything. So I think for the minute he's going to stand on the hillside, probably with his cloak, you know, pulled around his face, a kind of watcher figure. Simply observing and trying to understand what lesson is the priest trying to teach me here.
Do you have a stealth skill? Keep in mind that only if you fumble it will they see you, because they're kind of busy. But
I have a move quietly. I do not have.
That's fine. Move quietly is fine. Use that.
Okay.
If you miss it, it's no big deal unless you fumble.
Gets at 15%, and I 66. Okay. So I miss it, but I don't fumble.
They don't see your presence because they're busy.
Yeah.
But we have that going on. Now let's do some combat. We're going to move into let's see, the birds on desks. The birds coming at you. Birds and you, okay, I'll handle what's going on with the birds and deaths myself. But as far as what's happening with Binri, the birds have to close the same distance you have to close. So I'm going to say that strike rank basically cancels itself out in terms of movement. Mm-hmm. And so we'll take up when the few who come at you are met by you coming at them. And then the next question has to do with distance. If you're are you using any kind of handheld thing?
At the moment, I'm probably waving my spear around in the air, thinking that that's going to help scare them. It's going to make me look big.
Right.
Actually, probably my reaction, if I think some of them are actually flying at me and trying to attack, I'm going to get off the horse because I don't really feel comfortable up here.
Right.
And I have a large shield. I assume it's just strapped on the horse at this point or something.
Yeah.
So probably if I start thinking I'm imperiled, I'm going to like get off the horse and get behind my shield and start trying to feel safe.
Okay. So, good enough. The question is whether you're going, when they do close with you, and I'm going to say all that happens because that whole business of, they're not scattering, that happens.
Yeah.
And the whole business of, are they trying to get me? Yes, they're trying to get me. That happens. So the question now is, are you actually going to be striking at them? That's the only thing I need to know. I understand you're going to be defensive.
Not until I get off the horse.
I understand.
So I don't know how you want to time that.
So right about the point when they land on you or at you, when do you, in what fashion do you plan on doing that?
Well, I guess if I can, I'm going to try and poke one with the spear before it can get close to me.
Good enough. Okay, so that's going to give you the strike rank we spoke of earlier, which I believe was 6, correct?
Correct.
And these little boogers are speedy, but they are also they have no range, right? They actually have to close in to try to nail you. And so the so therefore you are going to be up against your spear actually gives you a slight edge in coming in first. So go ahead and take a poke, and we will see how that does. They have no natural parry. They do, so you don't have to concern yourself with a parry. They're coming in a somewhat suicidal fashion, if you will. So see about it.
All right. So my spear, when I thrust with my spear, I have the impressive skill of 25. Oh, but I rolled a 3.
Oh, well done.
Rounding puts that in your favor, Gordon.
Okay.
Yeah. All right then. After all those, sooner or later, percentage dice gives us, and it's not like for some bogus taste the coffee roll either,
Well,
right?
I switched to real dice, so
Ah, there you go. Right. Yeah. Never trust those demonic digital deals. What this thrusting one-handed, we're talking about. I believe we're talking about D8 plus 1. Got any strength
yeah,
bonus?
and I actually have a D4 damage bonus.
Okay, so and then let's double check on the old critical for that.
Oh yeah, and actually it's a piercing weapon. I was going to look
Right.
up all those rules, and I didn't do that.
Okay. It ignores the effects of armor or any other protection, and that's what it does. So it doesn't do like double damage or anything like that. Yeah, 5% of what less of what he needs. You know what? I'm not sure you get a critical.
Yeah,
5% or less
I
of
think
what you need.
at our levels of skills, you need to be like ones,
Yeah,
really.
I think a 2 would have done it, but not a 3 from rounding.
Yeah.
So okay, too bad. Anyway, so yeah, 1% out of 20%. So go ahead, roll your damage anyway because it wouldn't have made any difference. Just would have
Okay,
ignored
so
armor.
that's the special rule that I wanted to figure out was the impaling. So 20% of less of what's needed for
Which you did
success,
get.
which I think I did do.
You absolutely did.
Okay. So the weapon and damage should be rolled normally, which I actually rolled reasonably well. That's 10 points.
Right?
Cool.
And
Uh,
then you also get 9 points on top of that because you calculate the full damage for the weapon and add that to your roll. So it's like so yeah, since a critical is always an impale as well or whatever as well, that's where the extra damage comes from. So
okay.
so yeah, quite nasty. You did an insane amount of damage to this thing and completely spitted it with your spear. Just gutch, I believe is the right sound effect. And GUTCH is what I had in mind. And
Oh, I
so
suppose the downside is my spear is now stuck in the bird.
not really, it's a little bird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these things aren't turkeys. They're actually fairly small. Um, and your roll obviated whatever defense was in their favor. So you have done this. Fantastic. The others swarm at you, and let's see how they do with their coming in with with a 94 on one of them, with not so good, but with a 6 on another. So yes, the question now is where does it come in? Where does it fasten? Where does it where does it grab or
Do I
sink
get a
its little?
chance to block with my shield?
You do. Roll your shield, which is a parry
Uh,
roll.
right, which is actually the very best thing I have at 40%. Ooh, but I have a 43.
Oh,
Oh,
son of a bitch. Okay, so now we are going to see about your hit location situation. D20s. Very few D20 rolls in RuneQuest, but this is one of them. There we are. Right. Okay, coming in on the left leg. And given what we've talked about before, you guys were actually riding out there with a fair amount of protection. So you're going to have the leg covering of 1, and you're going to have the cloak covering of 2, acting as a hauberk. So, which does that cover the leg? Anyway, so the deal though is that it's coming in and is going to be doing its damage, which it really isn't too dreadful, actually. Um, so it's going to do 4 damage to your leg, but then you can cut that down by 2, take 2 points to your left leg, which I do not believe will put you in the hospital at the moment.
Not at the moment.
The others that were coming at you actually have gone after your horse, which is bolting.
Oops.
Right. So, so good enough. All right. So what now? Ian, you're watching,
Yeah.
and just to let you know what you're seeing, Des has taken several hits, but has, with his cloak, managed to fend a bunch of them off. And they have sort of, and they're scattered. But he's definitely been beaked or clawed several times, and is so that's what's going on. And then there's some other drama going over there with the other guy. Now Binri is in your age group, and I'm going to say that you probably know exactly who he is.
Right.
You may
Okay.
not know him too well personally, but you know who he is. And then
And he looks as though he's in trouble, maybe.
well, yeah, a little bit. It's Gordon. Matthew, I'm sorry. This went on a little quicker, longer.
Ah,
than I
don't worry.
anticipated.
It's good for me to list the rules, actually.
Yeah. So you, so Gordon, you are being clawed at, and there, you don't know how many more of these little things are there. By the way, mark yourself a success for a successful attack roll with the spear.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Wouldn't want to lose that hard-won moment. You notice, guys, I'm calling for skill rolls as often as I can remember, because that's the only way we're going to get through this. And if you ever want to make a skill roll, you just go right ahead and say, I'm trying this. So that way we can get as many attempts at things as possible. I even made you sing. You know? Okay, so Gordon, at this point, you're almost, I mean, your spear isn't really going to do you a whole lot of good with it at this close quarters, although it does let go and then circle back around, so I take that back. It's not going to stay in there and like claw at you. It's not that kind of an attacker. It's more of a dart and swoop kind of attacker. So so therefore you're kind of back where you started. You and the bird are kind of sort of ridiculous. This thing weighs like, 10 ounces soaking wet, but on the other hand, you don't want 10 of them dive bombing you either. So yeah.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
How is
so
this looking?
I think, just to interrupt, I think what I may do is look for an opportunity when it circles, and I may probably ready a sling stone from my sling.
Ah, okay.
And whether it's going to be this round, another round, but I may see if I can drive it off with my sling.
Gotcha.
If it's attacking Gordon, someone in my age group, maybe he's just collateral damage, and I need to drive the creature off.
Okay. So, you, Gordon, are going to. What are you going to try to do? I didn't hear an announcement.
Yeah, I want to take a quick look at Des. How is he looking like he's in big trouble? Is he
As a matter of fact, he looks kind of. He's walking. He's moving toward you, and seeming to stumble. You don't have much time. You don't have time. If you want to spend more time taking a look, then I'm going to attack at a bonus. Is all I got to tell you.
Yeah. No. It's really a quick look. He's still up. He's still moving around. I'm going to try and move towards him and help cover him with my shield.
Right.
And how many of these birds seem to be flying around?
Good question. I mean, again, this is kind of chaotic, and you have to pay attention.
Yeah.
You got to pay attention to things like gopher holes. So, so I'm not going to let you like do a count. The air, and especially in your adrenalized state, the air seems full of them. Oh my God! Right. So,
yeah. So there's way too many. The answer is way too many of them.
Lots.
Right. And so yeah, his plan is to he's gonna something swoops at him. He's still gonna try and spear it, but it's really defensive.
Right.
And he's gonna try and get to Des and start moving out of here.
Right.
Um.
Okay. So good.
That's the plan.
You're on that way, and you can see, Ian, that the bird is doing a what they call a six attack, right? Coming straight behind and toward Binri to try and nail him from the back.
All right. I'm going to see if I can take him out with the sling, or at least dissuade the bird with the sling.
Right.
Okay.
Go
So
right
I have a 40% of my sling.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Nice. Yeah.
Let's see if I can hit anything. And that is a 20.
All right. Excellent. So, and then the sling. You'll notice that I'm not doing hit locations on the bird because they're too low. I mean, they're only one hit location. So, all we got to do is get your damage. Go. We're talking about D8. And no special damage on this one. It's not a critical or anything, so.
And I need to find a D8. There we go. Ah, 1.
Okay. Well, you definitely clip it, and it goes into a spin. At that point, you know, as its attack has definitely been, you did stop it from attacking Binri, quite successfully. By the way, give yourself a success on that.
Yeah.
Mark yourself a success. And we're going to get to the point now where you guys have a moment to breathe and look around. Binri realizes that no, it's not full of birds. What he had thought of the air as being full of birds was actually the departure of a good armload of them from when Des had managed to get rid of them, to brush them away. Or maybe they left voluntarily, considering how many hits he took, because he took a bunch. So, and somebody seems to have just slung a stone from somewhere, you know, and the squawk of the bird behind you, you're like, wow, that thing almost got me.
Yow.
And so, you've gotten to Des. You know, I imagine regardless, you're still raising your shield and looking around, right?
Exactly.
And you're sort of expecting him to, you know, sort of meet you, and you suddenly discover that he is half falling by the time you get to him, so that your sort of manly upper arm clasp, you know, I've got my shield for us kind of thing, actually turns into supporting him as his weight comes down on it. As he's still kind of like, he's got like maybe 50% of his leg strength to keep himself upright, and and you're helping with the rest of it all of a sudden. And so that's what you see as well, Jonathan. You see that that Des is, something's wrong with him. That he seems to be losing his feet, losing his command of his body.
Okay. I will head down from my vantage point. I don't know necessarily where Jonathan at this point thinks he can do anything to help or intends to help Des, but it's more he wants to actually find out what's happening. I think at this point.
Okay. Good enough. And the birds are leaving the clearing. This was, so you know, they managed to encounter a little too much resistance. You did enough damage that they were not going to stay and fight. And so what you guys suddenly discover is that Des is breathing harshly, and as you try to talk to him, and he looks like he's trying to talk to you, both of you, that he is losing consciousness.
I appreciate I'm not a medical expert, but does it look as though he's, you know, shredded with wounds or whatever, effectively? Or does it look as though the wounds are quite mild and there's, you know, something else going on like poison or something like that? Or
you have put your finger on it exactly, as it turns out. Gordon,
Yes.
take your current hit points, which would be -2 from your total. Hit points are equal to your Constitution plus a bonus.
All right.
So take that, multiply it by 5, and
Oh my
roll that. Try to get that or below as a percentage.
9, so I need a 45 or less. No, I have an 89.
Okay. Des recovers himself and is looking, is kind of gasping for air, and seems to be taken by a resurgent, repeated chill. Like a shuddering, shivering kind of thing that actually seems to weaken him. But so as you guys are kind of supporting him, and he gets command of himself, and he said, it's like the he's saying something weird. He's saying, "She got me. She got me." You know, quick boy, help me home. And so that's your situation. So the question, Jonathan, are you going to help get him home? Or are you going to help Binri get him home is the question.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I think at this point, I'm thinking, he's 16. This is all a bit scary. He's not sure what to think about what's happening here. I think that probably he would opt to help Binri at this point.
Okay. So,
and I think he would.
Right.
I don't know whether he cares about helping Des, but he cares about helping Binri, who's with this man. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. And so so it's not an impossible trek. It's not that hard to orient yourself at this point. It's a bad few moments trying to manage the one horse you've got left, and but you can get him over that horse and lead it. And after a little bit of, in fact, why don't the two of you each make your region lore roll and see. I want to see this. This is going to determine how long it takes you to get home.
Wow. I have an 11, which I think I think I've got a 15 there.
Mark your success, man. That's all I can say. Mark it.
I roll a 44, which is certainly not a success.
Okay, so Binri is able to orient at last. You're like, God, I wish I'd done that a few minutes ago. And you're able to orient at last and lead you to the road, which is an easy way home. And you guys actually make it home in good time because of that roll. And so suffice to say that instead of 5 hours going by with 5 lost points of con, you have instead 1 point, 1 hour and 1 point of lost con. So Des has not taken that much damage. The problem is he's got the acute form of the creeping chills or whatever it is, the one that hits Constitution, and so that's going to hit him every hour, basically, which will kill him within a day if he doesn't get help. Yeah, creeping chills. So, awesome. Haha, first time I've ever hit anybody with a creeping chills. I bought this book when I was 16, damn it. And I finally hit someone with the creeping chills. Yes. So,
this is perhaps a all too direct example of what in local parlance we've called rolling for malaria. But my failed con roll, my failed roll that you gave me, does that mean I'm infected too, or?
Let's see what the healer says when you get home.
Ah, okay.
And also it would matter how long you were out too. That roll of yours was actually extremely fortuitous in terms of you getting scrutinized before things got worse. So
Cool.
This is finally, hooray! Matthew with Alkerton is finally in our frame of reference. Because as I see it, You were just working up a fairly extensive afternoon of sorting herbs.
Cool.
Matter of fact, do you have find plants?
I do, but I don't think I've improved it, I'm afraid.
Why don't you roll find plants to see what you found?
So look where it is on the. Oh yeah, find plant 15. Okay.
You can find something that's good for the creeping chills.
Oh dear, 95.
Oh, well, yes. Well, you weren't the only one, fortunately. And then, do you have a lore of a, there we go, yeah. Terrain type, yeah. Would have said the number of, actually, how many searches in every 4-hour period? You were doing this all day, and you get 3 tries in the fields where you were looking.
Okay.
So you need 2 more tries. It's not like you stomp around in some really annoying region for a bit and say, "Damn it, there's nothing here." After 4 hours,
No, the closest I got was 28, I'm afraid.
Bummer. Okay, so the seasonal potency and everything. This subroutine of healing and healing plants and stuff is really extensive. So you are sorting the plants that everybody found over this day in the long structure that's not really a building. It's long and low with a roof, but it doesn't have a side. So it's like there's a bench in there and stuff like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's open, more or less open. But it's got a roof. And so you and a few other people are there. It's been a long day of plant hunting, and now everybody's kind of sorting them out. And these ones get mushed, and these ones get dried, and these ones, that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, as happens all the time, at least one person, is being knowledgeable about it as everybody else listens. And let's just go ahead and be ridiculously coincidental. And one person is talking about how how there are diseases which attack the spirit as well as the body,
Mm-hmm.
and the diseases that and we must bring all of our knowledge against them. Our knowledge and our you know the all the different resources that we have, must be marshaled against these things. And just as he starts to get a little more detailed and starts to get a little bit more into the special the special things that um, that old Eben will contribute. That's when another one of the people hushes him, goes shh. So and then that's when the two of you, basically arrive with a very tired and thirsty horse and a conscious but failing, um, conscious but shivering and distressed Deaths. So there you go. So Matthew Alkerton is there, holding plants,
Mm-hmm.
and this man has showed up who practically embodies exactly what that guy was just talking about.
Yeah, so Alcaton can, even though he's a bit of a crap herbalist, he can tell this person's ill, and
Right.
yeah, so he's going to find his master or mistress, try and kind of help. So he's going to run and look for her.
Right. No problem. She's there. She, in fact, was probably the person who did the shushing. And she takes one look and gasps and says, quickly. Um, and as is helping him off the horse, and you're trying to help her get him off the horse, Alkerton, and she tells you, don't touch his wounds. You know, be careful. Here, wrap your hands. Don't touch his wounds.
Okay.
And helps him. You know, they help him over to underneath the roof, and somebody lays out a pallet, you know, for him to lie on, and people start making, and orders start being shouted left and right. You know, the different things. Fetch this, fetch that. Meanwhile, the two of you are kind of standing there, you know, dusty and battered, and kind of who knows
Looking
what.
nervously at the blood from death that is now undoubtedly on me.
Well, and also you suddenly realize, you know, you took a hit as well, right? Your leg hurts like hell, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
and so the uh, so the next step is medicine. Let's do some medicine. Let's see what they
Ooh,
say.
okay.
Let's see what they say.
So where is this rod in the book? Is it in one of the training bits, or?
Actually, I was going to look in the Cults of Prax under Shalana Arroy. Shalana Arroy, if I remember. They have pronunciation guides in Cults of Prax, which I memorized as a child. God help me, when I should have been doing something useful with my time. It proves difficult to heal, and then when they find that you've been injured as well, they you know, basically sit you down and, you know, Binri, and cleanse your wound and make you stay right there, you know, and stay right here, basically, is what you're told.
Okay.
So I'm going to do a little rolling here. There is actually in RuneQuest no healing skill. There is a first aid skill. Yeah, I mean, it's none of you are bleeding in the technical RuneQuest sense, whereby you lose hit points steadily. None of you were hit bad enough for that. So first aid isn't really going to be the issue. Instead, they're going to be interested in treat disease. So over the course of time, you're going to lose 1 point of Constitution. Gordon, it is recoverable, but you're 1 point down on your Constitution at this time.
Gotcha.
And you've got what appears to be the chronic condition. So this is you've got a week to go in game time before you have to worry about it. So if you get healed before then, you'll be fine. If you get healed, then you'll recover the point you lost, you know, in due time. But if you don't get healed, then you will continue just to lose it at that death of a 1,000 cuts kind of speed. Death's situation is exactly the same, except that it's hourly. So what we have is a look at treat disease. And so at this point, I would like now, Alkerton, do you have skills or things that factor into this at all?
No, I took my just extra 5% in law spirit, so I've got the basic treat disease, which is it's pretty low, I think. 10. Yeah.
Go ahead and
manipulation. Roll. 49.
Right. So, good enough. I mean, always worth a try. Especially because the woman, you know, kind of leans back a little bit, shaking her head, and exchanges a very grim glance with another one of the speakers, of the adults, and a complex communication goes on there. What do you guys have in terms of skills regarding human interaction? Any of you?
Got improvement on bargain. I've got, I guess, listen. I don't know, eavesdrop.
Yeah, there was actually a real shortage of human interaction skills.
Yeah, there are, and so therefore, and in this game, then I think everybody's kind of treated as. In other words, it's not considered a conflict. We're going to just go ahead and say you guys are are alert teenagers, attuned to the adults around you, and Alkerton knows these two personally, it should be pretty easy to tell that the man who is the junior member of the team is taking a negative position. Like, no, don't do this. Whereas the woman, clearly not wanting to, is is embarking on a course of action.
So I feel like I need to be a teenager now and start telling everybody, you got what's going on. You got to explain to me what's happening. Nobody's talking to me. How come nobody's telling me what's happening?
Good enough. The man.
I study my shoes a little bit when you have that outburst.
That's right. I, on the other hand, am perfectly happy for no one to ask me any questions whatsoever.
Indeed,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, Alcaton will just be asking, Mistress, what is it? Can I help?
Right. Oh, excellent. And so the man will kneel down next to you and say, "You're going to be all right. We'll take care of you. But speak of nothing. Speak of nothing what happened. This is, and you may yet come through this whole." And so
I never saw. Okay.
yeah.
That's a quick question, Ron.
Yeah.
Is Ian's character still dressed up a bit oddly with a mask and
No, he had taken off the mask on the way.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
it's my impression before you had even, by the time
Yeah.
you got to the clearing and started slinging stones around. I'm going to cut to the chase a little bit, and if I cut too quickly and steamroll over anything you want to do, let me know. The woman is the lead healer of this immediate area, is going to be organizing something and having low, quiet conversations with a number of other notable adults of the region. And that takes a little while. She's got to go talk to this person, got to go talk to that person. So that's kind of that's the long-term point. The man in question, well, everybody's like trying to make Des comfortable, and this treat disease skill, they rolled badly. They were not very successful. The man who had spoken earlier and been shushed pulls you over, Alkerton, and says, "Listen, boy, I know where you go of nights, and it's wise of you.
Thank you.
She is doing what she thinks she must, but she hates it, and so do I. We don't want the hand of to descend upon us here.
What is
Go to your master. Go to the one who teaches you. Seek his help. We need him now. Because otherwise, what she lets in among us tonight will never leave. And you will be seeing those chills. You will be seeing this ruling our village forever."
Okay, so Blanche at that look quite, frightened at this kind of serious tone he's taken with me, but sort of get some idea of his meaning. So I will do as he says and kind of nod, looking a bit stupidly, and then run off and find my shamanic tutor as quick as I can.
So Alkerton, I'm kind of interested in where you're going to, not Alkerton, sorry, Jonathan. You're the one, poor Binri is going to be like sitting there with a Band-Aid on his leg, looking glum as everybody says he can't go anywhere. And Alkerton's taken to the brush. And so the question in Jonathan, what are you going to do now? they've kind of looked you over and seen that you are unwounded and you're not covered with blood or anything. They'll just wash you down, make sure you don't have any more blood on you, and you'll be pronounced okay.
Well, I guess I have questions about what happened.
Right.
And so, and I guess the priest is someone I don't see normally. Presumably,
No,
he's someone I'm
you've never
taking.
seen that person before. Yeah.
Yeah. So presumably it's a bit like a cell structure or something. I presume you have someone I know who is in the cult.
You got it exactly. Yes.
So I will try and find that person and say, I want to talk about what happened.
Right.
Try and gain understanding.
Excellent. And so this is the one of the people who had taken you in there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
whoever kind of like recommended me into the cult sort of thing.
Exactly. And it was fascinating, right? I mean, it was spooky and secret and kind of exciting.
Sure, yeah.
And you learned shit too, right? I mean, you learned a spell that nobody else has and all sorts of things. So
yeah.
So the saw runes that no one else used and stuff like that. So now you are, yes, sure, why not? This.
I think the other thing is, from Jonathan's point of view, he's seen power now. I don't know necessarily how he feels about it. He wants the explanation of why was it used against this man, sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think Jonathan a little bit is a typical teenage, boy in the sense that the idea of power is attractive, right?
Yeah. I completely hear you. I'm looking for my names list and I'm not having much success. It's kind of irritating. Oh well. So what we have, to find a person's name. I made a whole bunch of them. Now, of course, I'm not carrying it around with me, and so I'm irritated.
In there.
Yeah, I know.
Mm.
It's even.
The other trouble is, of course, you will find it instantly once we.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's just like the usual curse.
So a tiny bit of a tangent, if you don't mind, just because I'm not sure exactly how the rules work, and B, I'm not sure what the sort of world perception of this is. I did notice, obviously not my character, notice that Jonathan has a heal spell.
Mm-hmm.
Is that regarded as common and routine? Is that something that's weird for him to use in general? And I'm not even sure how that works as far as what does it just give you points back, or I don't even know how the heal spell works in the game mechanically.
The heal spell is very much a repair wound spell. It's not treat disease. So
that makes sense.
So he could heal your leg if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And as far as culturally speaking, it's kind of a good question. It's being members of these cults is not. It's held generally secret, but when a person decides to start throwing it around that they do, they usually are kind of daring everybody else to make something of it.
Okay.
So, a person would use magic like that as a way maybe to, privately to gain leverage, or privately to, well, I shouldn't be speaking to the motive. They probably would be carrying it out privately. You wouldn't like roll up his sleeves and say, I can heal him with my magic, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So it's a woman. One of the people who are taking it out there is a woman. Her name is Onive. Onive. Notable for her skills in butchery and the preparation and preservation of meat and other similar food, but and is a householder with somebody, with a husband, and a fairly, what you might think of as a solid citizen if you look at it that way. So yes, Oniv is there, and sure enough, she's just stripping the skin off the half of a calf that's hung up when you see her. So you'll arrive, and she'll look at you and say, "There you are."
Right. I've been looking for you. I've many questions about what happened. Is there somewhere we should go to speak?
She says, she spreads her hands, and in a kind of a here's fine kind of gesture without saying anything. Just spreads her hands. This is fine. Is
Okay.
communicated.
I say, so I witnessed the priest send these birds, and I witnessed them attack this man Des, and one of my friends, and I wondered what had this man Des done that the priest had sent this against him, and what was I supposed to learn? And when I was asked by the priest to follow, I was somewhat confused as to what I was, what lesson I was learning. Was I learning the power of the witch to send death? Was I supposed to intervene for either side? This is all very new to me, and I really wondered what the priest wanted, and I wondered, did you have a similar experience when you learnt, more about the witch?
What I learned is that power must be held and it must be used. That the wild, okay, the wild that surrounds us, these walls we build, these animals we pen, these actions, she's stripping, the carcass. She's preparing the carcass as she speaks. These don't keep out the wild, Jonathan. They don't keep out the wilderness, the disease, the darkness, the rot. None of it is kept out. It's all still here. Those of us who know this, accept it, we can live with it and make it work for ourselves. Des was proud. These are things above your knowledge, young man. But there are those of us who have cause to dislike him, to dislike what he said, to be unhappy with him, to teach him a lesson. So what better instrument than he for bringing some of the wilderness here? We are the ones who will protect everybody from it. We are the ones who will keep this place from succumbing to the chills. Yes, the chills will be always with us now, but they always were. And through them, our power here grows. Nobody can tell you from now on, no, not when you hold their lives in your hands because of the sickness that walks among us.
I see. So,
and wherever you go, it will be the same. Whether sooner or later the bad water is drunk, sooner or later the hunter returns bearing illness, sooner or later the wound will rot.
So you are saying, but because we accept this as inevitable, that acceptance gives us the power to then not be afraid of it and use it.
Correct. Those healers down there, those ones who are helpless even as we speak against the power of the goddess, they're fools. They think their little plants will keep them safe, will keep away this power. Where do the plants come from? Who rules the plants in the first place?
I see. So the witch. Yeah. I understand. I understand the lesson now. That because we are not afraid of these things, they're a tool for us, and they are not for those who are frightened. Their fear is what makes them slaves.
Yes. Now, there is a deeper fear, a better fear, the fear you must learn. What did you feel when you met the priest today?
Fear of his power.
Never forget. Never forget. He holds the merest breath of So now that I've creeped you out 100%, if I had any kind of if I had any kind of success at this, that brings us to Alkerton, who is now the shaman is not an outcast in the village. The shaman is a member of the community. It's just that this particular one likes to live up in his hut, and so the hut is not wretched, but it's kept nice because people keep it nice. In fact, it's probably one of your duties to sweep up around the place and that kind of thing. So yeah, there really aren't that many kids who are that interested in the shamans, although nearly everybody knows a spell or two that they learned from him, or more accurately, from the spirits that he's caught and lets go. It shouldn't surprise you too much when you arrive. The flap of the hut is down, which is basically the signal to say, let me alone for a little bit. I'm doing weird shaman shit, or I'm taking a nap, or I don't feel like being bothered by stupid questions right now.
Okay, I'm going to have to get myself through that. So I'll be knocking on his door or door frame or something.
Right. So go ahead and you hear a hiss, a loud hiss, finishing with a rattling noise, which is kind of one of those imitations that he's not just taking a nap.
Okay, he's doing something. I think I'll be a bit naive. So I'll sort of whisper and say, Master, can I come in? It's important.
And the answer is silence. So at least it's not, he didn't throw a bone at you or something. So, sure.
Has he got a door or
it's like
cloth?
It's a cloth. It's just a curtain.
So I'll just peek my head in the gap then, see what's going on in the inside.
Sure. It's been some of the regular stuff has been cleared aside, so there's more of a space in there. He's wrapped up more than most people. He's like bundled up, and you've learned that his body will grow very cold sometimes, and so bundling up like that is so he won't freeze, and so he's all wrapped up, and that's when you get a look at his face, and finally your spirit lore kicks in. Go ahead and make a roll in your spirit lore just to see how. You'll probably fail,
Okay.
But that's how it goes.
Yeah, I was going to say massive 25. Let's
25. Hey, come on. We're habituated to think of 25 as a good fighting chance right now.
Yeah, 39.
Yeah.
I'm getting closer.
Okay, good. Yeah, you sound like the people who play the lottery. I got close this week. It's like,
Yeah, the numbers aren't all the same.
Yeah. So what happens is that you have you see, first of all, that his face is that of a spider with the multiple eyes and the jointed mouth and the fur. and you don't have the lore fully to understand what's happening, but you know that he has been, uh, you know that this is his special spirit, and you know its name. You know that it's called a fetch, and that if you wait, he'll be fine. In other words, you know this is creepy as shit. You know you've never really seen it face to face before, but you've heard
Okay.
about this. It's
Okay.
but and if you had succeeded in the role, then I would have happily told you a bunch of stuff. But
Yeah.
but that's as far as you get. So after a period of time, his face will return to being his face, and he'll explain that he had sent his spirit wandering, and that his fetch had taken care of his body for him while he was gone.
Okay.
Um, so, by the way, I was going to ask you, how do you keep your spirit, your bound spirit, bound?
I like the idea you said of some sort of bird. I thought.
Right. Yeah. That's fine. So you usually don't like keep it around you when you walk around the village. Well, actually, no. Being a shaman student is not taboo or anything. So
Yeah.
people are. I mean, the guy talks to you about it kind of down low because you're getting really trained, but you're not. But it's not like a sin, to hang
Mm.
out with a shaman. So yeah, you've got your bird, and
Some
the
kind of like crow type thing. Nothing too
right,
special.
right, and the bird, clacks its beak at the spider, you know,
Yeah.
and so the
So I'll sit. If I'm not too freaked out, I'll sort of sit there, hoping my master will come back soon.
right, right.
Do I
So
know if
yeah,
he's aware of what? Do I know if he's aware of what's going on around his body, or is he completely oblivious to?
well, that's the problem with failing that role.
Yeah.
Right. So
Fair enough.
so you are I'm going to say, okay, you do the right thing. Actually, you wait for a while, and then his face returns to normal, and he explains, as I say, he explains what he's been doing, and then he blinks a little bit and says, "Is it the 10th day already? Because you weren't going to be back until the 10th day."
I've had to disturb you early, my master.
He's kind of a chubby guy, kind of a. I wouldn't say he's not like this stereotypical giggling, head rolling, jolly Zen guy or anything like that. But he's
Hmm.
he's a plump and reasonably, what's the word I want? More cheerful than not sort of person.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. He likes tea. Makes a lot of tea.
Okay, I'll say I don't quite fully understand what's going on, but one of the hunters has come back very ill, and the herbalist has asked me to come to you.
He narrows his eyes a little bit and says, "Tell me more about what was wrong with the hunter."